All right, so everyone, Alex is one of our star interns, comes to us from the University of Exeter, and had a bit of a dust up with somebody from the Bank of England, which is one of the most powerful central banks in the world. Alex, what happened in your class last week?
Yeah, so I'm a second year at the University of Exeter. I'm studying economics and finance. And in one of my modules, money and banking, our lecturer, our lead lecturer, invited a guest speaker in from the Bank of England. And it was on a Friday evening. And boy, did I not let her have an easy Friday evening. No, so she came in, and there were quite a few people in the audience, and it started off. It was very interesting, and she was explaining kind of what inflation has been like around the world, how they've dealt with it, and saying that they've dealt with it very well. And she then goes through outlining all these other issues, such as climate change, inflation, geopolitical risks. And sh- I ended up in the questions at the end, I asked her about the elephant in the room, which was the debt. And so it was quite a long question, but the question I asked was, look, we've seen other central bankers such as Jerome Powell. He was on 60 Minutes, and he's obviously said that the US is on an unsustainable fiscal path. We've seen Stanley Druckenmiller, one of the best macro investors of all time. He's come out and said he's shorting the long end of the yield curve. We've had Paul Tudor Jones coming out and telling people to buy gold, tell them to buy Bitcoin. And whilst I'm saying this, she's nodding her head. And I said, this isn't to dunk on the Americans. We are in just a dire state as they are. And as Paul Tudor Jones said, it gets to a point where the inflation's baked into the cake, and there's only really one way out, which is to print your way out of this debt problem. And I asked her, is that what the Bank of England's going to do? And as someone who's staring at this, who's very concerned, what are your plans to mitigate the damage ahead?
Uh-huh. And was the representative from the Bank of England, did she understand the question? Did she accept your premise? What kind of response did you get?
So the previous question before me was it was a softball question, and then when I asked it, the room kind of went quite silent, and there was a moment's pause, and she goes on this kind of long, very kind of politically correct, what meandering down the story, uh, kind of tale, explaining that, well, they look at the kind of the fiscal debt projections, looking at their kind of exogenous models, and she kind of, as I said, she meandered down this story, and she ended up saying, yeah, so kind of one of the solutions is to print our way out. But, and she finished with, but I am not speaking on behalf of the Bank of England. And so I just said to her, so you don't have a solution to this problem then? And she didn't give me an answer.
Yeah, well, I think the non-answer is very telling. I also think it's really interesting that the way they dealt with inflation, she's saying, oh, we dealt with inflation, we did a great job, it's all set. Except the real solution to the debt problem is going to be the thing that kicks off a gigantic round of enormous inflation. So it's her answer, I think, was very misleading
Mm.
and led people to believe they had things under control when all they did was kick the can down the road.
Yeah, definitely. And it was interesting because she prefaced kind of her whole presentation by saying that, look, monetary policy is very complicated. And she came up with I don't know, this data piece or this statistic saying that they worked out that it takes 14 years of research to actually be able to understand kind of the monetary system. And so I'm not sure how many years she'd spent at the Bank of England, but it didn't seem like it had been 14 to me.
Okay, so let me get this straight. This person says you need 14 years of academic training to understand the situation, and yet a second year university student had her completely stumped, flabbergasted, and unable to articulate anything coherent. Am I understanding that right, Alex?
You are understanding that correctly,
Uh-huh.
yes.
And then I believe also they had video of the event that was posted and then got taken down a day later. Is that also right?
Also, we have the lecture recordings for all our lectures for those who miss lectures. And so when I went to go look today, because I knew we were going to speak about this, it said that due to, as She's not speaking on behalf of the Bank of England. We decided that we're not going to upload this recap recording lecture for kind of privacy reasons, which I thought was interesting. But yeah,
Yeah. So my conclusion here is that a second year university student and a deep knowledge investing intern can completely blow up the narrative of somebody who's had 14 years of academic training and is a senior person at one of the world's most powerful central banks. That doesn't say much for the central banks, but I am thrilled to know that DKI interns are able to single handedly take apart central bank representatives. Alex, we are proud of you for being subversive.
oh, thank you, thank you. Hopefully, once I've done my 14 years, maybe I can speak to the facts better. I can be the one answering the questions.
All right. Well, just so you know, when you fail your class, there's always a place for you here.
No, thank you.
Yeah, and feel free to extend another open invite from the DKI Five Things, Alex, for anyone from the Bank of England or her as well. We've got a long laundry list now growing of guests we'd love to have come on the show. So just let her know.
Robb,
Definitely.
that's a genius idea. Alex, can you reach out to her and ask her if she wants to come on next week's show? We would love to host her.
If she responds to my email, then yes, of course.
Alex, send her that email tonight.
Okay.
Get that out. We want this representative on, and we'll tell her. We'll make it clear from the beginning that nobody on the show is a representative from the Bank of England.
That's exactly right. Disclaimers throughout.
And we may have to yank the video 24 hours afterwards. But yeah,
Yeah, that's not going to happen. But you know, but yeah, extend the invitation. Tell her we would love to have her on, and would look forward to speaking with somebody who has such great academic training.
absolutely. Well,
Try to say it in less of a sarcastic way than I just did. You'll handle it better.
yeah, I'll try. I'll try.
Awesome stuff, Alex. Gary, again, this week's edition, five things to jump into it. Then Nvidia calms the market issue. We're talking Nvidia earnings. We've got Walmart, Target, another macro environment update. We're talking TPL, as well as getting to another reader subscriber question from one of our DKI subscribers regarding hedging that we'll get to in our fifth thing.